Hello, hello everyone. Good to see everyone. Good to see everyone. I'm Anna, one of the creators here on Savouring the Indo-Caribbean, and I'm so glad to be here tonight. I'll be joined by the wonderful Renee Rampersadsingh from Anugraha Yoga TT, and it's going to be such a great session that we're going to have today. It's good to see you all pop in. Look at all of you coming in. Hello, hello. Nice to see everyone. And as you join, I just want to invite you to find a comfortable space, if it's accessible to you, a quiet space. We're going to be doing some centering practices and a short meditation. And it would be nice if whoever you're around as well would like to join in and be here with us as well. So I'm going to give it a couple minutes. And like I said, my name is Anna, and I'm the creator here on Savouring the Indo-Caribbean. I want to make sure you all can hear me. And I will lower this so that we can hear each other. So again, thank you so much for joining. My name is Anna, one of the creators here on Savouring the Indo-Caribbean. I'm glad to be here with you. We have a holiday wind down series that we're doing with Renee from Anugraha Yoga TT, and it's going to be a 4-part series, each spanning around 20 to 30 minutes, and we're going to be exploring different topics related to wellness. And this is one of the things that I personally love to focus on during this time of year, really because it's a time to turn inwards, and I like to put down all the projects a little bit. And so I thought it would be just a great thing for us to bring to the community. So I'm so grateful for Renee for joining us and being here with us and agreeing to do this together. And I'm going to invite her in. And again, I'm just going to give people a little bit of time to find a space that feels comfortable for them. And if you wanted to be in a space that will provide you with a little bit of silence and a little bit of presence, we highly recommend it. So today we're going to be talking about meditation and the meaning of yoga. And so I'm going to try to find Renee here. That works. And you just press the button and you hope it happens. Renee!
Hi, are you seeing me okay?
I am. It's good to see you.
Yeah, hello.
I wonder, I always join this and there's always the comments scrolling on the person's face, and I was like, oh, can I just see the person's face? How are you?
I'm good. I'm really good. How are you?
I'm doing well. One of the things that I wanted to say too before I brought you in was one of the reasons, Renee, that I asked you to join is because you have such a great presence about you. And I'm so glad that you accepted my invitation to do this series together, because for me, I was, about to put all the projects down and just kind of turn inwards. And then I came on your live and I was like, oh, I wish I could bring this to our community. So thank you so much for accepting and being here with us today.
You're welcome. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad we connected in this way to reach out to each other.
Yes. So before we started, and I'm just going to also remind anyone, whoever's joining today, we're going to be doing a centering practice and a brief meditation. So if it's accessible to you, to find a space that you feel comfortable, where you can get a little bit of stillness, I want to invite everyone again to do that in case you're just now joining us. So Renee, just to begin, and I'm pronouncing your name Renee, but I'm totally aware that it's Renee.
That is it.
I'm so Canadian with my Renee. But Renee, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about Anugraha Yoga TT and a little bit of what you do?
Yeah, so, well, my name is Renee. I'm in Trinidad and Tobago. And I have been doing yoga since I was a child. My mom started doing yoga for her own personal thing. And as is the way of moms, she took my brother and I with her, and we just, just grew up doing yoga as well. I became a yoga instructor following the death of my mom. So, leading up to that, it was a lot of just more inner practice and self-practice and yoga for myself and self-maintenance and observing and really learning how yoga can help the family dynamic and help to support persons going through illness and trauma, that kind of thing. So that when my mom passed, that is what I switched careers and I became a yoga instructor. And right now, my main focus, I teach to everyone, but I do lean towards seniors, and I have done some work in palliative care and more therapy, that kind of thing as well. So that's just from my own experience. But yeah, so Anugraha Yoga TT has been around since 2014, which seems like a long time now that I'm saying out loud. Yeah, and it's just been a really good experience of connecting with people and sharing and yeah, just being there in the space. Being a yoga instructor is a very supportive occupation, and something that I really truly enjoy.
Amazing. One of the stories or the similarities and stories that I hear about what brings people to yoga and meditation is typically some sort of big change in their life. I know for me personally, I started really getting into yoga and meditation around 4 years ago, but really it started kicking in 2 years ago when my dad got a little bit ill. And so it's usually these like big life events that bring us to a space where it's like all of these tools that we have or what we think are tools aren't supporting us in the way that they used to, and how can we deepen in some of these practices to create vitality in our life. And so that's why I'm so passionate about having you on here during this time and being here with you. And I think practitioners like yourself are healers and are really the foundation of a lot of our health and well-being, and we're so grateful for you and the community of
Thank you.
Yoga practitioners and meditators, because without you, especially I find that yoga and meditation, it's hard to access. And so things like this, Renee, that we're doing makes it so accessible to people, which is also another thing that I'm really passionate about. And how we can spread some of this wellness, in our community is always great. So thank you for the work that you do.
Thank you.
And I'm so grateful for you for being here. So one of the things from my experience is, the westernized version of what yoga is. And I'm wondering, let's just baseline, and can you tell us a little bit about what is yoga? Just start from the beginning. What is yoga?
And, I remember when we were first discussing it, you put, what is the true meaning? And I was like, I have no idea what is the true meaning of yoga, because it is so fluid. I would say yoga is ancient philosophy that leads us to a greater understanding of ourselves. So it is, philosophy, it is practice, it is tools for discernment, and taking us into our inner space, connecting us to who we are, that kind of thing. So although in the West, we think about, I feel that it's more focused on the physical, but yoga is so much more beyond the physical. The physical is just one part of it. When we look at ourselves, we are multi-layered. We have our physical body, we have our emotional, our mental, our spiritual self, and yoga practices help to support on all those levels and help us to uncover all of those layers of ourselves. So yeah, I think it is for everyone to discover for themselves what yoga really means, because like my understanding of yoga today is different from my understanding of yoga a couple months ago, a couple years ago, many years ago. It is ever evolving and deepening as my practice deepens.
Yeah, and I love that you brought that into the conversation because I think in the West, particularly in North America, we associate yoga with yoga asana, and
Yeah.
it's specifically, targeting the physical like you were saying, and there's just a wealth of knowledge in yogic philosophy on yoga and unity between mind, body, spirit. And so I love that you've brought that up for us. And Roses and Chocolate says, agree, meditation changed my mindset and life. I'm excited to see the transition to yoga. And we got a lot of hearts here as well. So,
Thank you for the
um,
hype.
Renee, where do you know like where this sort of yogic philosophies come from? Some of the practices, especially that you teach, for example.
So that there's a lot of history and confusion. But ancient India, whatever ancient India, because it is rooted in the Vedic philosophy. And I know that right now there are lots of practices that people can say, oh, it looks like yoga, or the physical postures are similar from different parts of the world and that kind of thing. But we can trace back and have traced back yoga philosophy to the Vedas, which would have been, I think, 2500 BC, ancient India, that kind of thing. So it's from that area,
Yeah.
present day yoga, right? And I'm not discounting that there are other healing practices that are similar, because this is ancient wisdom, ancient understanding. And once it spreads, I feel everyone will connect to that energy as well. So I'm sure, but what we know as yoga has come from ancient India.
And so, speaking of that, a lot of Indo-Caribbean folks, we have Indian bodies, right? And so, I'm curious from you, like, do you see any connections between some of these yogic philosophies, some of the Vedic Hindu philosophies with Indo-Caribbean culture, ethnicity?
Yeah, I mean, I was looking into it because of this question, and also because I was a couple of weeks back I attended a session on lineage, that kind of thing, and trying to figure out yoga lineage and following your teacher back and that kind of thing. But here in the Caribbean, we don't necessarily have all that, because that line was broken and we were brought over, right? Um, but when we think about yoga in this side of the world, when we think of indentured Indian laborers, they came in, let's say 1838, I believe was the range, 1838, a little bit onwards. I don't remember dates that well. And then later on, Swami Vivekananda is known as the one who came across and shared yoga through like yoga conferences, and he did a demonstration at the Chicago World Fair, but that was in 1890 something, right? Mm-hmm. So it's a period away. So Indians in this part of the world, Indians in the Caribbean, have been here living their lives and practicing their yoga, because it would have been brought across as part of whatever their life practices are, right? Growing up, like my dad has said, he went to temple in Princestown when he was very young and did philosophy classes, did asana practices, that kind of thing. And this is before it started to have, yoga in the yoga, Western like yoga studios here in Trinidad. That was long before. So I believe that, we have that connection. We still have that in our heart and in our practice. Right?
And I think, one of the things you were mentioning in your heart, and I think we're just insinuating certain things because there's so little research on our histories, right?
I wish someone would do the research. I'm not going to, but I wish someone would.
We'll stick to our day jobs, but
yes.
Yeah, I would be really interested to know some of the history, and it's great to hear that there were some of these practices that came over many like centuries ago, and we're practicing. I'm assuming in little pockets within the Caribbean, and so it's great to even see your practice and the fact that you've done yoga for a majority of your life as well, and it was introduced to you from your mom, is quite fascinating to me as well, because I think for me it's always been this, because I'm in the diaspora, and I grew up majority of my life in Canada. There was initially this disconnection, right? And so I invite anyone here who may be living abroad or away, is to sort of we've been conditioned to believe yoga is a certain thing. So I highly suggest we connect with pages like yours, Renee, and some of these other practitioners that will give us a little bit of a different perspective. And of course, whatever resonates with you. And I always, when I was first starting practicing yoga and meditation, yoga asana and meditation, I remember feeling so connected, right? And I remember feeling so like it wasn't, it gave me much more than, the HIIT workouts and whatever other wellness things that are so,
because it's part of the heritage, right? It's built in a way. I feel that we all feel that connection, and so wherever you are, once you go into that space, you recognize it. Yeah.
You really do recognize it. And with that being said, one of the aspects of yoga is meditation, and it's such a great practice for us. And so can you tell us a little bit more, baseline it for us, what is meditation, how it relates to yoga?
Meditation is going beyond the quieting of the mind. It is going inwards and becoming still. And meditation is part of yoga. It is one of the practices. It is sometimes called the end, near to, not the end goal, but heading towards that direction. Because the goal of yoga as a philosophy, as a practice, it's not necessarily a physical, fitness, that kind of thing, but it is preparing ourselves to find that inner connection to the divine, or to spirit, or to whatever you call it, whatever you call it personally. It is finding that connection. And if we follow, some of you might have heard of Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, and the sutras give us the 8 limbs of yoga, which starts off with yamas, niyamas, and those are the ethical codes that we live by, that we practice, how we treat ourselves, how we treat others. And then asana, taking care of your body, making sure you're fit, you're healthy, you're okay to do other things. And then pranayama, observing your breath and the subtle energy. So beyond breath, but the subtle energy of life, right? And then after pranayama comes pratyahara, which is withdrawal of the senses. So you become aware of your breath. You become aware of the subtle energy in your body. And then you begin to go inwards. So you close off. You try to focus beyond what the senses can tell you, what is outside of us. And so then there's dharana, which is concentration and focus, and into dhyana, which is meditation, and then leads into samadhi, or enlightenment, or liberation, or oneness, that kind of thing. So meditation is part of it, part of the practice. And for many of us, it doesn't necessarily have to be we sit down and we do our practice, but it also could be, that you dedicate time every day to meditate. For some of us, you might find that we meditate in movement. If we are dancers, or if we are runners, or if we are, we find that groove within, and we find that quiet space. And that quiet space is where we're going to in meditation, right? Does it make sense?
Yeah, and I think you just walking us through the 8 limbs of yoga really gives us sort of a beginning, or a place to start understanding, just even going back to our first initial question, what is yoga? I mean, those yoga limbs are really a great place to start. And it includes, meditation, which I just remembered we didn't do our centering practice at the beginning, but okay. I'm going to remember next time. So I think the last question I want to ask before we do a meditation, because we will be doing a meditation at the end. Um, how can we use meditation? I think maybe a two-parters. How can we use meditation around this time or any time of the year? And if you have any tips for anyone who's wanting to start off with meditation.
How can it help? It helps us to remember ourselves and to support ourselves, I think, because meditation requires that you turn inwards, that you begin to observe what is in your space, what is going on with you, what's happening, right? Which is what yoga itself does. Makes you tune into your body, into heart, into spirit. And so how can it support us around this time when, it's Christmas time, we may or may not be around family? It helps to remind us that even though we are not physically in the same space, we are all connected in spirit. We are all connected to that nature. We are all connected to the universe. My own guru this morning, this morning, the day has been long. So this morning he said, why are you lonely when everything is consciousness? So if we are one spark, it is to know that, everything else is just part of it as well. And meditation helps to remind us of that. When we go within and when we connect to that quiet space, it is a supportive space. It is not just, it's not emptiness. It is a space that is nourishing. It is a space that is supportive. Yeah. And then what was the second part?
Yeah, if you have any tips for anyone, and I think I'm throwing this one at you, but is there any tips, like anybody's listening here, like if someone's trying to start off meditating, do you have any quick tips for them?
Yes, and the thing would be to find something to focus on. And usually, and what we'll be doing today, we will focus on breath, because one, breath is always accessible to us. We always have our breath. And especially during this time of the pandemic, we want to be even more closely aware of our breath. So, but one thing is to just begin to tune in to your breath and becoming aware of that length of exhale, length of inhale begins to quiet the mind, tuning into the sound of it, tuning into the feel of it. If that doesn't help, or if, you get distracted by it, it is not to beat yourself up about it, but to just remind yourself, oh, I am practicing and I'm coming back against it. So that because our mind can be so busy. And if we think about it like a fan that is powered on, so the blades are always spinning once it is on. And that is like the mind with thoughts. But when we take off, it will still continue spinning for a little bit. And so, that is kind of what we're working on, just waiting for the thoughts to quiet and to quiet and to quiet. But it is for us to bring our attention back to it again and again, and not to, feel in any way about it, but just say, okay, I'm working on it. And it, yoga, I find it to be a very forgiving practice in that it's like, yeah, I'm working on it. There's a practice, I'm practicing.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that. I'm going to see if there's anything in the comments, and at this time too, we'll be doing a short meditation. So just inviting anyone again, if they want to take the time to just get to a place, if you're not already in a place where you feel comfortable, to be in a little bit of silence. So Dream God said, agreed. Same here. Felt so connected with the cosmic energy and light. I think that is a comment about practicing yoga. And let's see, Rose and Chocolate says, yes, I understand what you mean. Lately, I have been dancing to my favorite Indian songs while quieting my mind and stepping out of my physical self. Oh, I love that. I love that. We forget that there's so many activities that we can do that actually roots us in the present moment. And that in itself is a form of meditation.
Yes. Bringing ourselves, building that self-awareness and present moment awareness, yes.
Amazing. So Renee, with that being said, I'm going to hand it over to you to just guide us through a short meditation.
Okay, great. So, yeah, so wherever you are, I invite you to come into a comfortable seat. And comfortable is whatever you feel like in this moment. I know it may be late for some of us, so if you also feel like, you want to rest, that's okay, just listen. And we can either close our eyes or take a soft gaze. We want to relax our eyes, beginning to gently focus on the sound of the breath, breathing out fully and deeply, and gently breathing in. Breathing out will soften our shoulders, drawing away from our ears, noticing. Breathing in. On our next exhale, we observe where there might be tension in our body, and we allow ourselves to soften. Gently following the sound of the breath. And beginning to notice the length of your exhale. And the length of your inhale. And beginning to notice the end of your exhale and the end of your inhale. Allowing your breath to take you deeper into your body. Becoming aware of any thoughts that are in your mental space. And we are just observing at this point, not engaging. Bringing our attention back to our breath. And focusing on our hearts, on our emotional space. Just observing what emotions are present. And as we continue to breathe, we begin to notice where our breath takes us, where it calls for our attention, or if we begin to feel that sense of quiet. Knowing that whatever is in your space is perfect in this moment. Breathing fully and deeply. And continuing, we observe our breath for 3 more breaths. And after our third breath, we exhale fully, dropping our chin to our chest, if that's comfortable, and becoming very aware of your body, noticing the weight of the body, beginning to be very present in this physical body, noticing our fingers, our toes. And on our inhale, gently, we can lift our head back to center. And when we're ready, we can open our eyes, taking our time to do so, to come into the space. Our eyes have been closed. So we rest a moment, and then I guess if anyone has a question or a comment.
Thank you so much, Renee. Thank you so much. That was so nice.
What did you observe?
What did I observe? Well, there's some tingling in my feet, so I observed that. But one of the things that I've been focusing on during my meditations is trying to sense my heart. I've been practicing that, so I put a lot of attention on my heart during this meditation.
Yeah, good.
Let's see here. All right. So this was our first session. Renee, how do you feel?
I am okay. It's always a bit nerve-wracking to be live on the thing. Laura, yes, I asked my students, what do they observe? It is a personal experience.
Well, Renee, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for creating this space for us. I love how even virtually you can sense the presence of other people. And so I love even just virtual meditations, even when we're not in a room. And I'm sure as you've had to probably pivot your practice for things to be virtual. So that's probably been an experience for you, like meditating virtually. And as you said before, we're all connected in consciousness. So wherever we are, we're all connected. And so thank you again, Renee. Thank you so much for being here. Any last words for us?
No, I am looking forward to next week. Next week is going to be interesting.
Yes. So I'll do a post. We're going to be doing mindful cooking and food. And so I will have everyone prepare. I'll put a post and we'll share how everyone can be prepared for that because it could be an interactive session. So looking forward to it every Mondays. And we'll see you again soon. Thank you so much, Renee. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Denise. Thank you, Roses, Chocolate.
Yes, thank you all so much for joining us.
Bye.
Bye.